Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for pressing play on today's episode of Stand Up, where every day I bring you a great news recap I call the Shit Show with headlines and clips. Then I jump to one of my expert guests who join me each and every day on the show. Yesterday, I had no guests, but it was a great opening. Lots of people loved how much fun I was having with the voices and so on. I'll try to do that more often whenever I can, but I didn't have any guests. And guess what? Today, I got no news segment. I got no shit show, but I have two guests. Just the way things shook out the last couple of days. I had to be at a fundraiser for my local assemblyman. I like to do as much as I can for our local politicians last night. Went a little bit long, had a great time, but no shit show today, which is just fine with me. We'll get back after it tomorrow, and I'll be joined by comedian Mike Kaplan today at, I think, 11 o'clock Eastern. So check that out at youtube.com or Stand Up with Pete or substack.com Stand Up with Pete. I'll be live on both of those platforms today with Mike Kaplan. He's got a great new comedy special out. It's been way too long since I spoke with Mike, but that'll be today at noon East, not 11, noon East with Mike Kaplan. Hope to see you there. Also tomorrow, Celeste Headley is set to join me around 12:30. So look forward to both those. But right now, I'm going to jump into my conversation first with Sam Youngman, and then at about 34 minutes in, I'll be joined by Glenn Kirschner. Of course, Sam Youngman is a veteran journalist, political reporter. He did all of the things you can do in politics and reporting from Kentucky to Washington, D.C., but now he is a professor of political science out in Southern California, and he is the co-writer and author over at thealtmedia.com of the best news daily newsletter out there. You can watch videos of him talking to his partner, Adam Parkamenko. Those two guys are great together, and I loved anytime I get to talk with Sam, who's become a good friend of mine as well. Love these guys. I think you're really going to like my conversation with Sam today. Let's do it right now with the great Sam Youngman. The reason why I admire your work and other people's work is I think I've created a formula, an idea in my mind as to who I give credibility and respect to, and I wonder how you do it. How do you know who to trust and respect in media, in journalism, to a certain extent in life too, but certainly when we're increasingly going to be confused by AI and we're also siloed and you're not hearing certain things. How do you know where to find the best kind of journalism, or is objective journalism still a thing? My ingredients are kind of, and what I think is the reason why I like you. I think it starts with a moral clarity. Then you sprinkle in intelligence, which I would argue is gained through experience, really. So where did you work? What did you do? Who do you know? How did you grow up? What's your life like? And then just adding kind of a credibility with a final sprinkle of who pays this guy? Who pays this woman? What's their incentive structure here? And it's like you on one side and others that I would include in Earth One, and then like someone like Megyn Kelly and J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and other people who are willing to just be complete hollow barrels to make a living, to gain power and so on. What's your formula?
Yeah, this is a question I get a lot. Like, how do you know who to believe, who not to believe? And I don't have a great answer because the reason I know who to believe and who not to believe is because I worked with them. I was around, at least the older folks, I was around for a long time. I was a White House correspondent for 4 years. So, like, it's not news to me that Jake Tapper is a fucking fraud who's full of shit. Like, I've known that for a very long time. I think the other thing that I would put on that list is authenticity. Who's a real person? One way to tell if somebody's authentic is they're not perfect. They've made mistakes and they cop to them. That's the other thing I tell people is, like, if you're trying to figure out if a news organization's worth a shit or not, look at how they handle their mistakes. Yeah. Because everybody makes them. Do they own up to them, or do they sue until Dominion makes them fork over $1 billion? Right. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it's like, that's a great way to look for honesty. It's a great way to look for, do they believe in accountability for themselves? Because if they don't, they probably don't believe in accountability for politicians or rich assholes.
And I think that's all fair and should be applied to any corporate media, many of which you worked with and knew. But as we get older, and as even today, we're thinking about giving our money to this Substacker or Patreoner or watching this YouTuber or whatever, increasingly they're younger. We don't have experience with them. Finding the where their credibility lies is sometimes difficult, which is why I try to apply the formula. And somebody mentioned in the live chat, and of course, humor too, which is why I love you. And, moral clarity matters. But then in the chat, my friend Kim asks, wait a second, where is Sam's line on pedophilia? So do you think a 14-year-old, it's not as bad if it's a 14-year-old. It's not like it's an 8-year-old. It's not like you got to separate.
My line is 5 to 10 years older than Megyn Kelly's. What the fuck, man?
Do you think you need to? Somebody wrote you have to separate the pedophile from the pedophilia, and I think that's really.
I don't think that's true.
You don't.
I think you keep those things lumped together at all times. Yeah, and you do that in a cell somewhere. My God, man. I mean, I knew these fucking people were crazy. Like, hey, it wasn't really an attack on the Capitol. It was a tour visit. But, I didn't anticipate we're getting into, hey, 15 years old is fair. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with these people, man? Like, you mentioned the younger generation, and that is where I have trouble because I don't know them as well. And so I guess then what I'm looking for is their voice. How do they write? How do they talk? Does it seem like they believe the shit they're saying, or does it seem like, they're looking for a shortcut to, the fame and fortune of being in politics these days? Olivia Nuzzi, perfect example of somebody who I think, nobody did her any favors by putting her to work in this industry in her early 20s and telling her how great she was and how infallible she was. She had her ass kissed by the top of the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And her fall was almost inevitable. Now, was it inevitable that it would be this fucking gross and hard to understand? Probably not. She's not the first fucking person to fall for Brainworm Guy.
Joining us now, Olivia Nuzzi. Olivia, welcome.
Olivia, it's great to see you. How the fuck are you affording a house in Malibu?
Olivia. I was looking the wrong way. Shit.
Yeah. She run back to Malibu. Yeah.
Gross. Great point, though. A great example. Several great examples that you're talking about. Well, I want to, I always want to talk about and update this conversation with you and others. Who do you trust? Who do you like? Who are some of the sources that you really rely on? I mean, for me, again, I also love expertise. I love a niche. I love someone that knows about public lands or someone that knows about energy or education, and they have a lot of credibility in that lane. Again, also a moral clarity and live on Earth One, where we usually report from. So let's get into some of the latest things. I got to ask you, just real easy, nice, easy question up front. Let's ask, what do you think of the remaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene or Marjorie Taylor Brown?
I thought you were going to ask me about the remaking of The Running Man, and I actually have a lot of thoughts on that.
No, I haven't paid any attention to that. I know I like that Glenn Powell. It moves when I watch him.
Yeah, no, I like him too. Although I didn't like his show for Hulu. I thought that was pretty shitty.
I don't know if I saw that.
But no, I like Glenn Powell too, and I love the original Running Man. What do I think of the remake of Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't know. I'm not that fucking dumb. Like,
I love it. I fell for it.
Am I supposed to believe that the Jewish space lasers lady is now like a smart person who's not crazy? The thing about the expression crazier than a shithouse rat is that there isn't a second expression that, hey, I'm hanging out with the shithouse rat now. If the shithouse rat was crazy enough to hang around the shithouse, then they're probably not going to rehab that image anytime soon, unless they go on CNN where, that kind of thing happens. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a pig. I mean, she has tormented people. She has tormented trans kids. She's tormented her colleagues. She's tormented school shooting survivors. She has made life a living hell for a lot of innocent people. And just so she could stand on their backs and make something of herself in the shit arena that is Trumpland. If she's coming to her senses, great. Maybe she won't fucking burn in hell, but that's not really my concern. If she wants to vote for Democrats, great. If she wants to contribute money to the Democrats, great. But if she wants to be in on a policy meeting, sorry, fucking doors closed. She can go do a policy meeting at Four Seasons Landscaping or something.
So that's how you feel about her then?
Yeah, jury's still out.
So a larger issue is the fracturing of MAGA, and it's been observed by all the people who I respect and like. I just saw, I'm trying to look for it, so I'm looking down on my phone, the historian, NYU historian, authoritarian expert, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, sharing...
Oh, did you freeze on me?
What?
Nope, you froze on me for a second.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Ruth Ben-Ghiat quoting Ahmed Baba about the fracturing of MAGA, and that's what they're seeing. So I wonder how you would describe what we're seeing right now. And I say it's, I call it the hoods off movement led by Nick Fuentes. Hoods off. They're going full hoods off, full white Christian nationalists. You're either with me or against me. And today, one of the board members of Heritage resigned, which is a pretty big deal. MAGA is fracturing between America First, whatever you want to call it, and I don't know what the other side is, but how do you see it unfolding right now?
I think the hoods came off in Charlottesville, and that was almost a decade ago. What I have learned watching Trump is for every MAGA asshole who says, this is it, I've had enough, I'm stepping off, there are 5 MAGA assholes ready to take their place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to forget a clearly drunken Lindsey Graham, red-faced on the Senate floor the night of January 6th saying, I'm done with all this. Guess who Lindsey played golf with this past weekend?
I do a pretty good impression. I do a pretty good impression of that. Hold on. That is it. I'm finished. Okay? I'm done. I'm out of here. That is enough for me. I'm going to go have myself a ham and bacon honey sandwich. This is enough.
That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. Yeah. And just like Lindsay, you came right back. And,
exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like, we've seen this song and dance before where it gets a little ugly. It gets a little weird. It gets a little dumb. And they're like, okay, this is it. I'm out. And then one bad poll later or a few mean tweets, a few death threats, and they're right back. I don't know that Marjorie's going to have a path back. I don't really know what her path is. I don't think there's a Liz Cheney for her. I also really don't give a shit. Like, my path for her would be to take a long walk off a short pier.
Oh, wow.
I really don't care what happens to her or how she at all. Look, if these unserious people who always saw politics as like reality television instead of like affecting real people's lives, if they're starting to get the memo, great. But I have a long memory, and I hope other people do too.
She said yesterday we need to lower the rhetoric. And apparently you're not listening. Your long walk off a short pier, that's the kind of divisive rhetoric that I think is putting a target on her map. That and the president of the United States also literally putting a target on her map, putting a target on the back also of some Indiana senators who don't want to cheat and redistrict. So he's going after them, and they're being doxxed. Every day we should mention, or someone should have a clearinghouse of who got targeted by the president of the United States today. Who got targeted today by the leader of the free world?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually glad it's Marge. I hated it when it was a judge or some judge's daughter or, some random people in America. Marge at least signed up for this shit. But no, I know she wants to tone down the rhetoric, which was why she told Dana Bash yesterday to have Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes on the show. So, yeah, I got a short peer for Marge right here.
That's right. Yeah, she is encouraging. Did you watch? Are you paying any attention to that guy, Nick Fuentes? I watched the whole interview with him and Tucker Carlson.
I did not. I was going to, but I was busy cooking and eating my own ass cheek. That just sounded like more fun than watching the two of them.
I was going to volunteer. I was going to volunteer at a soup kitchen, but I was like, nah, I think I'll just stay home and watch Nick Fuentes talk to Tucker Carlson and smoke pot.
The thing is, every time I see these guys, or for Nick Shapiro, it's not even, is that his name? Ben Shapiro. It's Nick Shapiro worked for Obama. Sorry about that, buddy. Every time I see Ben Shapiro, or actually every time I hear Ben Shapiro, I'm just like, other people can hear this too, right? And every time I see Nick Fuentes, I'm like, are y'all looking at the same dude I am? Like this little gremlin that looks like he crawled out of a Nazi's ass? I don't understand. Are we so fucking desperate for leadership in this country that people are like picking up shit encrusted troll dolls and like, hey, I'll follow you wherever you want me to go? I mean, it makes me really sad.
Would you tolerate one observation I have about him? I know you don't want to talk about him anymore.
Sure.
I think his appeal to a certain extent is he doesn't seem to be incentivized by what everybody else is incentivized by quite the same, from Steve Bannon to Tucker Carlson. They certainly want to be famous and popular with huge followings and, most importantly, make a lot of money. I think they're all ideological, no doubt about it. But the thing about Fuentes is the dude like has a history of going after and blazing fashion other pundits and politicians and the Jews, and he gets deplatformed, and he doesn't seem to care that he has made all these enemies in his own lane. And somehow that's working to create a following because he's not motivated seemingly as much by those things. These guys are all scared to go after each other, to turn and fire on one another, or to be deplatformed by saying what they really feel. And him going after Mark Levin, I was satisfied. I have to admit, he's like, he's a fat pussy. And I was like, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
More, please.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if he was a nihilist, just fucking people up, I could respect that. But he's also a Nazi, and fuck Nazis.
It's not respect. I'm saying I'm observing the quality, what he's doing and why he's gaining a following. And
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. He's a more authentic anti-establishment character than Bannon and those guys who are just a different kind of establishment. You know, you talk about Bannon. Bannon's not a true believer for anything except Trump. Like Bannon, you know, Bannon was Goldman Sachs. Bannon was Hollywood. Bannon was everything he claims to hate. He just sucked at it. So no, I mean, look, my big theory about the American public since Trump came on the scene is that we were just desperate for authenticity. You know, after years and years of poll-tested, press release bullshit language, people were so fucking desperate for authenticity, they were willing to accept Trump as an alternative just because, you know, his rudeness sounded like honesty. His, you know, his threats, his attacks, that sounded like authenticity. Now he's obviously full of shit on everything, but it sounded real. Nick Fuentes might be saying the most horrible fucking shit on the planet, and he probably is. I can honestly say I've never listened to the guy, but to a lot of people, I'm sure that sounds like something real and authentic that runs counter to, you know, the more, I don't know, message tested shit they're used to hearing. Which, you know, is a real cause for alarm, I'd say, for all of us. If we're that susceptible to Nazi policies and Nazi rhetoric because we're that desperate for authenticity, then we've got some big damn problems, I'd say.
Just the quote again that I meant to have up earlier. Ahmed Baba said this. Want your take. I've documented every day of Trump's first term and covered Project 2025 since 2023. The threat of Trump's authoritarianism has been the focal point of my journalism for a decade. So I'm not spreading false hope when I say Trump is weakening and MAGA is fracturing. It is clear. What are your thoughts on that assertion?
I hope that's true. I feel like I've heard it before. But I also don't want to be the asshole who pisses on the parade. You know, we've always known it was going to end some way. I just don't know how. And I also don't know. I guess, like, for me, it's always, okay, what's the breaking point and is it sustainable? Because I feel like, you know, MAGA gets really upset. They're very emotional. They are very quick to burn their clothes if it's, you know, for Nike or a red hat or whatever. But they're also very easily brought back into the fold because the one common denominator most of them have is that they're easily frightened by people with brown and black skin. And Donald Trump is a master of scaring people that way. So, you know, I'm glad that these fucking idiots are burning their red hats, but I imagine they'll put them back on the second Fox starts talking about caravans. I just wonder if they'll put out the fire before they do.
Yes, I do too. All right. Final question, two questions, I guess. I haven't talked to you since
This is fun.
Huh?
This is fun.
Oh, I'm glad you're having a good time. I get very excited like a child when I get to talk to you. It's Sam.
Dude, you're the best. I enjoy the hell out of this.
Sam Youngman Day, and I would do it most days of my life. I really enjoy it, and everybody watching does too, for sure, and listening. Nice. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
And check out Sam, The Alt Media, and Adam. They're so good. I just watched right before I came here their talk. They're doing great work every day. Subscribe to their amazing newsletter, which is the best in the biz. So Mom Donnie wins in New York, and the other question is the future of the Democratic Party. And it's interesting because on the right, they're having a fracture and they're either going hoods off or hoods on, but, you know, the eye holes. And on the left or on Earth One, the rest of us are arguing about things like free public transportation or universal pre-K and obviously affordability, serious questions about the cost of care, et cetera. But we're the extremists. What do you make of Mamdani and what he represents and how other Democrats around the country that are from different districts and states should be responding and talking about it?
I'm a big fan. I didn't know anything about him. We stayed out of the primary. And then I watched that man campaign. And he did something that was unlike what I've seen most politicians do for the last several years. He ran like he actually liked the people and the place that he was running to represent. He ran like he wanted to make it better for the people who live there. He didn't try to scare the shit out of everybody. He didn't promise a bunch of shit he couldn't deliver. He said, hey, here's a bunch of shit that's broken, and here's how I think we can fix it, because I love this city and I want people to be able to live here who aren't billionaires. And it was just like, holy fucking shit. How hard is that? Yeah. We saw it in Seattle. Katie Wilson just narrowly won a race over the incumbent mayor there. Trump's already freaking out and threatening to move the World Cup games away from Seattle. Despite what the New York Times editorial page is telling you, Americans are hurting and they're looking for people who can provide real solutions. We tried the fake solutions with Trump. We're going to pie in the sky. I'm going to fix everything on day one. People, I think, have learned, okay, that's horseshit. So now they're listening for people who are not only promising change, but also laying out how they're going to do it. Despite the attacks on Mamdani's proposals, I always thought they were fairly well detailed, fairly well thought out, more than we usually hear from presidential candidates. And this is for a mayor of a city. So, yeah, no, I'm a big fan, but I'm more than a little dismayed by what I saw in the Democratic Party. It's almost like we have an allergy to winning. We spent the first several months of the year saying we've got to win Youngman and we've got to find a way to get people excited. And then Mamdani comes around and it's like, maybe not like that. It's like they have a version in their head of what's an acceptable way to do that, which is just outrageous to me. My first rule for politics is fucking listen to what the voters are telling you. And that's what a lot of Democrats told me after last November. Like, oh, we got to listen more. We got to listen more. Well, Mamdani did listen. Katie Wilson did listen. And they responded and they won. And now I wonder who's not listening. And I will start with the Democrats who were on their high horse too high to support Mamdani.
Yeah, well said. Fully agree. But I also have always been a supporter of these types of ideas, policies. And the reason is because I've been to Norway. And then I read every year the happiest country in the world is Denmark. And then I read every day that they live longer and they're happier. And I know Canadians. And so none of this shit is in any way make me uncomfortable. Like, I want it. Bring on all those policies. Give me a nap during the day while you're at it. Paid nap.
Is Denmark still the happiest country in the world since we started fucking with them so much?
Yeah, it's only made them happier because it only makes them feel better than us. Yeah, everybody feels better than us. We're the worst.
They were already happy, and then they realized they don't have Trump as president, and they just got like 10% happier.
Honestly. Well, what do you think of the wisdom that Democrats, when they campaign, their brand is so bad, they have to be more than just anti-Trump. They have to be for something. They have to give people something. But the kind of, I guess, the data that's come out of this last election was, no, being anti-Trump is actually good enough. And I would make a point based on data. Apparently he's lost all the ground he gained on Hispanic males, or maybe Hispanic voters in general, because it was always shocking that a lot of Latino Americans, however they self-describe, voted for him. He's lost it all. And maybe if you just let Trump be Trump, he'll take a shit everywhere that you care about or thought he was going to make a difference in, including grocery prices, and he's going to do it himself. So maybe it's just good enough to be like, I'm not him. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know why it has to be an either or. Like, you can be for affordability and against fascism, and that's a pretty fucking compelling message to me. But not only that, when you tell the American people that they're being distracted when they're telling you they care about something, it's pretty goddamn insulting. People know what they care about. Yeah. They don't need a think tank in DC to tell them what they actually care about. They care about high prices. They care that the president tore up the fucking White House, and they care that he might be a child rapist. I don't know why it's so damn difficult for us to talk about all of these things. This idea that we have to pick our battles, or that every time I see an Ezra Klein type being taken seriously by elected Democrats, I just see us losing another election. I don't know that it's about being anti-Trump. I don't know that it's about being more than anti-Trump. What I know is this: candidates matter, and people have to believe that the candidate believes what they're saying. My number one rule for any fucking Democrat running for office right now is don't be a pussy. Seriously, it's that simple. Stand for something, keep standing for something, and when people come at you telling you to change your opinion, say, no, this is what I stand for. People respect that shit. They don't respect people that are running to their consultants every 10 minutes saying, what am I supposed to believe? It's just, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Trump is the scum of the earth. But the thing he is authentic about is being racist, being anti-immigrant. He doesn't fake that shit. It's real. And, much to our chagrin as a nation, people are respected that. This whole discussion we've had for the last year about whether or not Democrats need to throw trans people under the bus to win elections. My God, are we just evil? Like, are we just going down a list of people being like, okay, these people are expendable, these people are expendable, these people are expendable? How about listen to Andy fucking Bashir, who said we don't have to throw anybody under the bus? This idea, like, if we just hide who we are a little more, or if we just lie about this a little more, if we just don't care about these people over here a little more, then we can win. What are we winning? If we do all that shit, what have we won? I don't want to be like Trump. I don't want to be like the people who fucking support him. I want to stand for something as a country, as a party, and I'll vote for the person who does too.
Very well said. Do you think trans people are human?
More than Marjorie Taylor Greene is.
I was wondering how you'd handle that.
Man, of course fucking trans people are human. They're our friends, our neighbors.
They're the easiest people to dehumanize ever.
That's it.
Because you don't know any. You likely
because there's fucking 19 of them in the whole country.
Yeah.
I mean, it will never stop being infuriating to me that Republicans attempted a coup. A violent coup that resulted in 140 cops being injured. And this one racist asshole comes along and says, you know what the real problem is, are drag queens and critical race theory. And the New York Times is like, you know what? You're onto something. Let's focus on that instead. It's idiotic. I swear to God, I don't give a shit if I'm the last person in the Democratic Party standing for trans people, but that's where I'm going to be.
I forgot to make a point when I was talking to someone recently about the trans issue, and person's like, what do you think about trans, girls playing sports? I'm like, yeah, I think we should have a conversation about that. And, I'm not really so comfortable with it myself. And then I go, but I forgot to say, wait a second, this is the dumbest thing. I can't believe I'm talking about this. Like, whatever I think about it doesn't even matter, by the way, because it's like a thing that isn't really happening very much ever. And I also, now my new joke is, I wish it were more acceptable when I was younger, because I would have maybe got some playing time, or I still would have sat the bench if I transitioned as a girl, because I just wasn't that good. That's the problem. And it's such a distraction. It's so not an issue that we shouldn't even be discussing it. And where it comes up, fine. But the fact that they elevated it to make us care more about that than the fact that they're protecting pedophiles. Like, if you care more about trans anything than the protection of pedophiles, you are the worst fucking person. You're the worst person, because that's what they're doing. And the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And what's worse, sexually assaulting a child, or knowing someone did and then moving them to a different parish, or protecting them in any way? I don't know. I can make an argument that knowing someone who did that and covering for them is worse. It's almost worse.
I completely fucking agree. While you were talking about sports, the thing to remember is most states, they have policies about this stuff. Like, the idea that they're, it's just the Wild West. It's fine. I don't know what made me think of this, but do you remember the movie Ladybugs? It was Rodney Dangerfield, and to impress his girlfriend, he started coaching a women's soccer team, and a young girls soccer team, and they weren't very good, so he got his would-be stepson to play. And you can tell that movie's dated, because in the end, they just all love each other and they're all friends. And there wasn't like an army of Karens standing out in the parking lot with torches and pitchforks calling for this kid to be murdered and for Rodney Dangerfield's head to be put on a pike. It's like, we used to be nicer people. I don't know, man. I feel like trans kids have it hard. They're already singled out. They're already treated like shit. Worst. The idea that we're going to take away the outlets from them, or I don't know. I'd rather be the kind of people who are looking out for them, protecting them, and telling them, hey, it's all right to be whoever the fuck you want to be. In fact, the world is better when you are.
Well said. So well said. The idea that they are in any way a danger to others versus a danger to themselves because of what they may likely be going through, because that is a tough place to be if you in fact have body dysmorphia like that. That is really rough. All right, final question, real quick. Epstein files, how does this end? I say the House overwhelmingly votes for it. I say the Senate, let's say they do vote for it. They got to vote for it. They're going to be too pressured, I think, too. Maybe they don't. Maybe it doesn't ever come up, but Then it gets to Trump's desk. He signs it. Out come the Epstein files, all scrubbed by his Department of Justice. So he takes out any reference to him, then it's over.
Yeah, no, I've always been leaning towards that something too. It'll be, I mean, we're not, he's going to protect the truth. He's going to conceal the truth as much as he can.
How many people would have to know?
I guess we won't. It's like the jobs report, right? Like, I mean, we just kind of, like, we've got other indicators to give us a sense, but I don't know that we're ever really going to know, except we already don't. I mean, we know.
They have a wonderful
I don't know.
secret.
Maybe it's a big reveal that Epstein's still alive and like he and Elvis are like hanging out in some like Brazilian jungle or something. It's I'm sorry to the Elvis fans out there. I didn't mean to impugn the king. No, man, I don't know how it ends.
Well,
the truth, I was always skeptical that it was much of a story. I was like a lot of people in that I was willing to believe the official explanation. I've been around Washington and politics long enough that I mostly dismiss out of hand conspiracy theories because I know they require competence and discretion to complete them. And competence and discretion aren't usually things you find in the government. So I just usually believe Epstein killed himself. Sure, why not? He had a lot of charges hanging over him. He was, his life was shitty and embarrassing. And I don't really believe that anymore. It's Bill Barr was head of the Bureau of Prisons. Bill Barr, who the New York Times referred to as General Cover-Up. We watched Barr cover up the Mueller report. We watched Barr go to work to protect this guy. Alex Acosta becoming a cabinet secretary after getting Epstein his sweetheart deal. At a certain point, it's more than coincidence, right? Like, you'd be foolish to believe that it is. I don't know how it ends, but I hope it's ugly as shit for everybody involved. I hope every one of them just goes through the most miserable public humiliation and pain imaginable, because it's only a fraction of what they did to those poor girls.
So well said. Very well said. Appreciate everything that you're doing and that you did by joining me here. Everybody loves it. The comments are so positive. We love that Sam Youngman.
How do I read the comments?
You're not allowed.
Can you cut and paste them?
You're not allowed. You can't see them if you're a guest. If you click on comments on the top of the box on the
oh, there they are.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hope everybody just
that's
starts.
Really cool.
Everybody, now that you can see them, everybody should just start writing horrible shit. Oh wait, I'm reading.
That way I'll know it's a comment section.
Says, I think Sam is the king of cucks. Huh. Next user. Sam looks like a.
I mean, at least I'm the king of cucks, right? Like, it's not like I'm like the jester of cucks. That would be embarrassing.
Next user, I hate Sam 547. Isn't Sam more likely to get work in a field scaring away crows? That is fucked up. Come on. He doesn't look like. Come on. These people are being.
Oh, man. Don't forget it was the scarecrow who Dorothy missed the most.
I love that I don't have enough live viewers to have actual people do the bit that I had to come up with those.
That's what I've got friends for, man.
All right, buddy. You've got friends everywhere. Thank you for joining me.
Pete, you're the best, pal. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Sam Youngman. So good. Lots of great comments on his appearance when we were live, and I'm sure I'll hear more from you. We love Sam Youngman. He's so good. Go support him and Adam and their work at thealtmedia.com, thealtmedia.com. And now I want to get an update on some top legal issues, and nobody does it better, nobody covers it better, explains it better than my friend and yours, the great Glenn Kirschner, over at his Justice Matters channel. Glenn and I just got to be a guest on his huge YouTube channel, like 1 million subscribers more, I think. So definitely go watch our conversation over there at Glenn Kirschner's YouTube channel, Justice Matters, as well as read him at Substack, glennkirschner.substack.com. He's, of course, a legal analyst, former 30-year federal prosecutor, Army vet, and really good friend of mine. We met at MSNBC back in the day and become close friends over the years. Always love when I get to chat with him. And I hope you like our conversation today. We were live yesterday, both these conversations, on YouTube and Substack, youtube.com/standupwithpete. If you want to watch it, let's do it right now with Glenn Kirschner and the Kirschner Report. I used to say. I'll still say it. Glenn Kirschner, Justice Matters. I was just there with him, and he just posted the interview that I was so fortunate, lucky to get to sit down with you in your studio there, and everybody should go watch it. We had a great time. Thank you for joining me tonight. Lots to talk about.
Great to be with you. It was good to have you down here at Justice Headquarters to do a live in-person interview.
Yes, it's a beautiful town there in Virginia, and it's a beautiful area, but it's a lot of history there. Apparently, Mark Levin lives down in that area. He's my favorite radio broadcaster. You ever bump into him?
No.
Oh, I would love to see that debate.
I'm up for it.
I gotta have it. All right, lots to talk with you about today. Of course, first of all, let's just with the Epstein files thing. If the House now is overwhelmingly going to vote for it, the Senate maybe vote for it. If it gets to the Trump, by the way, he could just release it apparently. But if it gets to him, shouldn't have to do this. He could just release it. He said he's going to put it out, but hasn't the Department of Justice had it long enough to scrub all the Trump references out?
Yeah, if anybody thinks that Pam Bondi is going to release publicly anything that could incriminate Donald Trump, I've got a bridge to sell you. I'll throw in a couple of tunnels free of charge. Ain't going to happen.
So what is this file drop going to be? Last week it was emails from the Epstein estate, but this would be it would be conversations and testimony from many of his victims, like thousands of victims, and what else would it be in there? And how do you, by the way, do that cover up? I mean, lots of people would have to know that and be involved with that. Someone's leaking somewhere.
I don't think it will be a successful cover up. I think one of the things that has kept Pam Bondi from just releasing information, but not including anything that could make Trump look bad, and then peddling to the public, see, you got it all, is there are people who are still at the Department of Justice, including at the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office, the office that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell and were in the process of prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein. They know what's in there. So if Pam Bondi and they may have safeguarded copies of the files. I hope they did. But so if Pam Bondi tries to pull a fast one and say, I released everything, there's going to be a lot of people who will be able to come forward and say, Pam, no, you didn't. So I think, that's why they find themselves in this position. They're forever playing a shell game. But Donald Trump has now said, after insisting that the files shouldn't be released, he now said, okay, release the files. And Pete, listen, the reason he just got in front of this House vote is because if he kept telling them, vote no, and more than 100 of them voted yes, guess what? Dear leader's power would be decimated, and he didn't want that to happen. He wants to retain power at all costs.
Just one question about what could be in there that would be, really bad. And I feel like the one thing I know we've seen, because I watched it, was Senator Sheldon Whitehouse questioning the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, asking her if she knows if there were any pictures or videos of Trump with half-naked girls or something about that. And Pam Bondi, I wish it was good enough to pull up the clip, I'm not that savvy, didn't answer. And he looked at her and he goes, so you don't have an answer? And she's like, basically, that moment is the one moment I kind of think a lot about in terms of what could be in there. And the other thing that everybody knows about, because we have eyes and ears, and I mean, even if you never know anything about the law, he moved Ghislaine Maxwell. He gave her a better place to live. She's got to have something on him. He's maybe going to give her clemency. Those two things alone to me would say he's desperate, and he never does anything for other people, all these other powerful dirtbag men that are in there. He's not doing it to protect anybody because he only cares about himself. What is your response to all that?
First of all, as a former prosecutor, Sheldon Whitehouse doesn't ask a question he doesn't already know the answer to. He was expecting Pam Bondi to refuse to answer or maybe lie, which would expose her to perjury, more precisely a false statement to Congress. And of course, she wouldn't answer the question. This is I think, horrific truth. There's so much more than just pictures in there. There are videos that I think were surreptitiously taken by Epstein when he would lure these businessmen, these titans of industry, whoever they were, to his place and then offered them these young girls. So I think there's a parade of horribles in the files. I don't know how much of it will involve Trump, but given how many times he's mentioned in this email traffic, 1,600 or 16,000 times, over the course of 20,000 some odd emails. Listen, I can't imagine there's not going to be all kinds of very damaging stuff in there. Again, going back to what we were just discussing, I don't know that we're going to see any of it because I don't know that Pam Bondi will actually release it, even if Donald Trump signs into existence a requirement that it be released.
I hear, but I feel like now I'm hearing you say two different things. You say we're not sure we're going to see any of it, but at the same time, there's a whole bunch of prosecutors that have this information, and maybe I'm thinking we're only going to see it if they kept copies of the documents. Couldn't they speak out once this stuff comes out? Couldn't any number of lawyers or anybody else who knows the truth about the references to Trump, which could, by the way, be the testimony of one of the young women who victimized him, and it could be visceral, and then Trump did this, and then he did that. It could be fucking horrific like that, and people must know. And how do you go to meet your maker not telling?
Maureen Comey could probably sit there and chapter and verse tell you everything that's in the Epstein files. She was the lead prosecutor on the Ghislaine Maxwell case and the Epstein case before it went belly up, literally and figuratively. So, I don't know who will come forward, but I hope to heck if they see Pam Bondi misrepresenting what's in the Epstein files, I hope to heck they come forward and they say, listen, I have to have a clean conscience as well. Let me tell you what's actually in there.
When you spent your career as a prosecutor, and I don't think we've ever talked about if you had experience prosecuting people who had sexually assaulted kids.
I did a couple of rape cases of adults. I never did sex crimes against children. We had a whole unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office, the sex offense unit, that handled those cases, and God bless those people. It was not something I could do. I did 2 child sex abuse cases as an Army JAG back in the 80s, and I very quickly came to the realization that I would rather do murder cases. I mean, murdered people are hard, but abused children are even harder to deal with. Not hard to deal with them, but harder for prosecutors in the system to deal with. It takes a special kind of person to be able to handle those cases and want to handle those cases.
But appreciate that. Even still want to get your take on, what you heard people like Megyn Kelly and others say, trying to have some nuance and between, it's not like he had sex with an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old. These are 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, which look, they're post-pubescent or whatever you want to say. How does the eyes of the law, look at that and how it's prosecuted?
At a minimum, it's statutory rape. If you have intercourse with somebody who's underage, under the legal age of consent, it's statutory rape. But, when you're talking about 14-year-old, 15-year-old, what she said was indefensible. And, if that's where you are left defending Jeffrey Epstein or anybody else who was involved in this, 14, she looked 16. I mean, that is not a winning argument.
Trump's Department of Justice is using all of their power to prosecute his enemies. You've been educating us on so many of these cases, many of these targets. It seems to be happening all the time. Luckily for some of those targets, he's got bad people in place prosecuting them, unqualified people have zero experience, to the credit of a lot of, I guess, your former colleagues or people at DOJ. They often would resign before taking on one of these cases or going after one of his targets. But talk to me a little bit about some of these cases, because specifically, obviously, he's got this woman, Lindsay Halligan, who has no business being in this position, going after James Comey and Letitia James, who's currently the Attorney General of New York. And we can go on and on. There's developments in many of these cases. Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, the Comey case suffered a huge defeat for the prosecutors, a win, or it's heading in the direction of a win for James Comey based on what both FBI agents and Lindsay Halligan did in the grand jury. I'm just going to read the final couple of sentences of the 24-page ruling that was just released a couple of hours ago in the Comey case. The judge says, the court recognizes that the relief sought by the defendant, James Comey, which is, I want all the grand jury evidence, that is rare. However, the record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and the prosecutor, that would be Lindsay Halligan, to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. Therefore, in this case, the court, the judge, has before it a rare example of a criminal defendant who can actually make a particularized and factually based showing that grounds exist to support the proposition that irregularities may have occurred in the grand jury proceedings and may justify the dismissal of one or more of the counts in this indictment. It looks like the FBI may have run roughshod over the attorney-client privilege between James Comey and his lawyer and actually injected that information before the grand jury, which is a cardinal sin. You can't use privileged evidence against somebody any more than you can violate their right to remain silent, embodied in the Fifth Amendment, which is what Lindsay Halligan did. The judge said Lindsay Halligan seems to have made the argument to the grand jury that they should hold James Comey's silence against him or infer guilt if he didn't come forward and explain and testify. It's a parade of horribles by a bunch of hacks. These are tentative rulings, but it went hard in favor of Comey today. Should be mentioned, what they're going after James Comey for is lying under oath, that he knew who leaked information when he was at the FBI. That's the crime that they're trying to. And the reason Comey is, and his lawyers are saying, let's go, show us the evidence of that, because they don't have it. Is that the understanding? They don't have the evidence, and it looks like they abused the grand jury process in getting the vindictive indictment that Donald Trump demanded they get. He has a history, and I guess, and maybe there is a history of this in the legal, in America, in the legal canon, certainly in politics, but his whole thing is, let's just indict a person or say that there's an investigation to damage them politically. I actually don't care if there's ever a trial, a prosecution, or if they're found guilty or innocent. I don't care. I want to muddy the waters. I think probably famous or infamous one was when he tried to get the Ukrainians to say that they were investigating his likely opponent, Joe Biden. He was impeached, I believe, for it, but partly. But he said, just announce an investigation. That's all I need. Isn't that basically there? Isn't there a history of that with this guy? Is there a history of that with other? Because you would think that most prosecutors would not play that political game, because most prosecutors, if they're going to indict someone, they're doing it because they think they can win, not for a headline or to muddy the waters. Am I onto something? Prosecutors are duty bound to keep their damn mouths shut. Those are our rules of ethics. We're not permitted to even breathe that we are investigating somebody in the grand jury. The only time you can make any announcement is if the grand jury returns an indictment and you're going into court to present the defendant on that indictment. And then all you're allowed to say publicly, I've done this many times, is so-and-so has been indicted by the grand jury on the following charges, and we have no further comment to make. And you don't make another comment until after the trial is concluded. You don't announce that you're opening investigations into people. As you point out, when he told President Zelensky, I know you want to protect the lives of your people against unlawful Russian aggression, but I need a favor, though. And what was he doing? He was leveraging congressionally appropriated funds that were designated to go to the Ukrainian people to save their own damn lives. He used that as leverage. And he said, I just want you to announce an investigation into Joe Biden. You don't have to conduct one. Just announce one, because that's where the PR benefit is, right? Yeah. By saying so-and-so is under investigation. What do, 90% of the American people, where do they leap to? Oh, where there's smoke, there's fire. Must have done something wrong. But let me be even more clear. Let's say I'm a governor and I have a political enemy, and I know he committed a crime, but a lot of people committed that crime, and I'm not sure how much evidence there is, but there's enough evidence. And I say, I guess, number one, you're not supposed to tell your attorney general, whether you're the governor or the president, to investigate. And he constantly does that. But more importantly, if you're the prosecutor, if you're the attorney general, how often do you bring charges against someone if you don't believe they committed a crime? In this case, with Comey or Tish James or any of these other targets of his, John Brent, I don't know which other indictments have been announced. John Bolton, but that looks to be in a different category. That was actually investigated by career prosecutors, and it was an investigation that was up and running during the Biden administration. It looks like there may be some there because he was writing a book, and it looks like he may have improperly shared classified information in the process. How many times does an attorney general do it? 0 if you're an honest broker of the facts and the law, which Pam Bondi clearly isn't. Think about this, Pete. We had an FBI and DOJ memo in July that said there is no further evidence to investigate in the Epstein case. That was a publicly released memo. Now, I don't believe it, but that is the public statement they made. There can be no further investigation. We've exhaustively gone through the files. And then Donald Trump posts, I want these Democrats investigated in connection with the Epstein case. And what does Pam Bondi do? Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to open an investigation and get right on it. Look, Pam, you're contradicting what your own damn memo in July said, that you couldn't ethically open an investigation because there wasn't adequate predication, and you've exhaustively gone through the file. So it is such an effing joke, Pete, these people and the way they abuse the rule of law.
Got to ask you, I was looking through your stuff on social media, and if you made a video, I missed it. So if you're not read in on this, but I just remembered this one to ask you. Former congressman and former choice for attorney general, Matt Gaetz, has denied a report. He's now denied this report that he paid for sex with a homeless 17-year-old who was saving money for braces, is the way this headline. Gaetz has denied ever having sex with the girl who said in court documents that she was given ecstasy and paid for having sex with him at a party. There's a lot of smoke around that dude. Did you pay any attention to that? Because it's not getting...
I did. I read the accounts. And of course he's going to deny it. And then the question becomes, does Pam Bondi have an appetite to investigate anybody who carries an R next to their name?
Aren't there other jurisdictions that could investigate?
It could be a violation of state law, depending on what he did. Usually the feds have the bigger bang for their buck when it comes to, interstate child sex trafficking. But it could very well, if this happened in Florida. Listen, Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to Florida state law violations, and that's how he did his little weekends in jail. He was like a camp sleepaway. It wasn't really a legitimate sentence. But, that is how Acosta, the dirty U.S. attorney back then in the early to mid 2000s, justified completely shit-canning a federal case in which his prosecutors had drafted a 56-page indictment against Jeffrey Epstein. He says, no, let's just let him plead to 2 minor state charges and he can, sleep in the jail. Basically, we give him the keys to his own cell so he can go out during the day and do whatever he wants to do.
What else? There's so many other cases moving through. And obviously, we can talk about Supreme Court, the arguments heard or did not heard. They're not hearing the Kim Davis, that lady on gay marriage equality. Of course, you've got a great video about that. But there's a lot of other cases that federal courts are looking at. It seems to me like one of the biggest legal cases of the past couple of weeks, or certainly the most impactful, would be the arguments heard at the Supreme Court around the future of Trump's tariffs. And I just wonder how impactful you think that would be or is, or your reaction to what, if anything, you paid attention to with those arguments.
Yeah, the argument didn't go well for Trump. It looks like this might prod the Supreme Court, or at least the 6-justice right-wing majority, into wakefulness and actually pay some attention to the express language of the Constitution and say this is Congress's power, not the president's. Maybe they will do that. Now, they haven't shown an appetite, Pete, for cutting back on presidential power. They've been forever expanding presidential power beyond the express terms of the Constitution. But it looks like he may lose the tariffs case. And of course, he's already revoked a whole bunch of tariffs as recently as yesterday or today. Maybe he is trying to get in front of an opinion that he knows is coming that's going to be bad for him. But here's the thing, Pete. Will he abide by Supreme Court rulings, or will he just continue to do whatever he damn well pleases, recognizing that the Supreme Court doesn't have an army or a law enforcement agency to enforce its own rulings? I mean, I think it's going to come to that eventually, whether it's deploying military to the streets if the Supreme Court says he can't, or, finding other ways to, charge foreign countries, even though they rule he doesn't have the power of the taxation of the tariffs. I don't know.
I got to ask you, I feel like every day you're digging into new cases, and sometimes, and things are moving so fast, we we forget about or we move past certain cases. But also every day, it would seem that one of the January 6th insurrectionists that Trump pardoned has recidivized, has committed another crime, or has listed another threat against somebody. So many of the men that he pardoned have done bad things and been rearrested. You have made a lot of noise around January 6th. You have become very good friends and huge supporters of many of the Capitol Police officers. You've made hundreds of videos trying to explain all of that to us. So I just want to ask you kind of a larger macro question just about that and the fact that we should never forget that his first act in this second term was to pardon those motherfuckers. And the guys who I've become friends with, mostly because of you and your friendships with them, are still not getting justice. And it's a big reason why you do what you do, I know. And so it's the fact that these guys are keep doing bad things. And the fact that we somehow forgot that he pardoned them, and he keeps pardoning other people who are completely compromised. In fact, paying him, the Bitcoin guy who literally was laundering money for narco-terrorists and Al-Qaeda on Bitcoin. Zhao, that guy, he was arrested. The Department of Justice prosecuted him. He was in prison. He got let out. Trump pardons him. The injustice is so often, and there's just, we got to keep talking about the fact that he keeps doing this, I guess.
Yeah, with respect to the January 6 pardons, let's never forget that Donald Trump doesn't back the blue. He backs those who beat the blue, damn near to death. That's who Donald Trump backs. These pardons represent a danger to public safety, if not national security. He just delivered another one in recent days to somebody he had previously pardoned for J6 crimes. Then the guy had unrelated firearms offenses, and he pardoned them. He pardoned them for those too, for no reason other than he's on a recruiting mission. Donald Trump is recruiting people to do his bidding, including his violent bidding, if need be, in the future, right? He just pardoned the suits of the insurrection, the lawyers, after pardoning the boots of the insurrection, the mob he sent to the Capitol to attack and stop the certification of Joe Biden's win. And what is he, just like he posted, come to DC on January 6th will be wild. The midterms may roll around, Pete, and he may say, remember everybody I pardoned? Go to your local polling places on November 3rd, 2026. Will be wild. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This is all a recruiting tool. That's what he's doing.
Constantly. All right. I got to be your guest in your studio. It's up on your channel now. And you asked this great question of a lot of your guests at the end, which is what gives you hope. You always give us hope in these videos, and you're doing your best. I feel like right now there's a fracture, and that's a good thing. And he may go down fast. He may go down slow. He may go down on Bill Clinton. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Glenn Kirschner, in terms of where the hope lies today?
So Donald Trump is losing his dictatorial grip, including on his own party, his own members of Congress. He's been clamoring and whining and bitching and moaning and bellyaching about none of the Epstein files should be released. Nothing to see here. You need to move past it. And once he realized he doesn't have enough power to keep his own party in line in Congress, he just did a 180, right? Flip-flop, U-turn. He said, okay, I want them released. Why? Because he's about to be exposed as having less and less and less power as the aspiring dictator he so desperately wants to be. And I think, Pete, once that dictatorial grip begins to loosen and things begin to slip through his hands, I don't think it retightens.
Right.
I think people begin to peel away from him that maybe were scared previously because he seemed to have an iron grip on his party. So I think things are moving in the right direction. I'm not going to say we've turned a corner, but I think things are moving in the right direction.
Finally, a bit I only do at your live Justice Matters events I would like to do now, which is Glenn and I are very good friends. Here's a couple of text messages he thought only I would read. Okay. Number one. Here it is. Hey, Pete, it was great to see you. I was kind of shocked and surprised how manly you smell, kind of like leather and nails. Wow, very nice.
Fingernails, but still.
Here's another one. Wow, I bet you didn't want me to read this one. That Nick Fuentes, he does come off as likable.
Got moxie. That was your line. I like this Vivek kid. He's got moxie. I still remember that.
He's got moxie. Yeah. And finally, hey man, those cigars I gave you, I didn't want them anyway. Anyway, good to see you. Wow, I thought that was really generous.
Well, listen, Pete, you can't embarrass me because how many pictures are there online of me kissing your beautiful bald head? A lot.
And now there's video.
Do your worst. And now there's video. That's right.
There's video of it in this interview that was so much fun. Go watch it. You can see a video. If that's the kind of thing that turns you on, two bald guys kissing each other's heads. Go get after it right now. Go watch it. Add to the millions of views I'm sure it's getting.
That was the most fun I ever had interviewing anybody in my studio.
Oh, wow. And somehow I don't believe you, but...
Hey, I'm an officer of the court. I can't lie.
It was fun. We had a great time. I love doing it. I appreciate you for joining me tonight. As always, my friend, thank you for being here.
Great seeing you, Pete.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really great. I love talking to Glenn. I love our friendship, and same with Sam Youngman. I hope you enjoyed both those conversations. I hope you learned as much as I did, took as much away from them as I did. That's the whole idea, bringing on smart people to help us understand what the hell is happening and navigating it all, and hopefully being interested and maybe a little entertained to make it all go down a little easier. That's the goal. Hope I achieved it today. If I did, you can always upgrade your subscription or you can sign up for the first time. I hope to see you at the Hangouts and on the Discord as a part of our community. And I very much appreciate you joining me today. Email me your thoughts, ideas, criticism, compliments, anything else. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com. As always, John Carroll sings us in. He sings us out. Go buy his brand new album, johncarroll.org, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up. Stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. This is the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up. Stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right. We got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.